Hello, everyone. My name is Venus Izadi, and I'm a specialized solution architect here at Red Hat. And today I want to talk about Red Hat Quay, which is an enterprise container registry provided offered by Red Hat. All right, so I will talk a little bit about the high level of what Quay is and what benefits it can bring in your environment, and what kind of offerings Red Hat have for Red Hat Quay. And then I'll jump for a quick demo and show you the environment of Quay in OpenShift and also Quay.io, the URL. All right, so let's actually talk about the Red Hat offering first. I want you to understand that where Red Hat Quay stands uh, in kind of Red Hat portfolio. We have an offering called Red Hat OpenShift Platform Plus, and it consists of 4 different components. It comes on top of Red Hat OpenShift. And the components are advanced cluster management, advanced cluster security, Red Hat Quay, that's the one that I'm talking about, and OpenShift Data Foundation. If you're interested in other topics, please let us know. We have recordings of other offerings as well, but this specific one is only for Red Hat Quay. All right. So what is a container registry? So we all know that kind of when you are doing this deployment of your software, you need to push your images in a container registry and then pull it if you want to deploy it in a production environment or in any other environment. In general, we always say like the container image registry is part of like critical part of the modern software deployment pipeline. That is a place that you are kind of pushing your images and you're pulling it later for being used if you want to kind of deploy it or if you want to use it in any other way. So container registry is technically a place you're storing and retrieving your images, container images. But Red Hat Quay is more than that. It's beyond storing and serving containers only. So it has like 2 other very important scales. The first one is like the scanning. It has a high security. It has tools to scan your images while they're in the registry and make sure that everything is safe. And the other one is the scalability of the Red Hat Quay. So if you are using multiple Kubernetes clusters, it can be OpenShift or non-OpenShift. You can use Quay, and it's very high scalable and highly available registry for your images. If I want to summarize all the benefits that Quay can bring into your environment, first I can mention that Quay is an industry-leading and trusted open source registry platform, which has been developed by collaboration with broad open source customers and ecosystem community that we have, which makes it a lot more powerful. Red Hat Quay also runs on any infrastructure. It can be on-prem or public cloud or your private cloud. It can integrate with any Kubernetes cluster. One of the key strengths of it is the scalability part, as I mentioned before. It's nearly unlimited scalable. So it means that you can run your Quay on your laptop or in your data center, or you can use it to serve billions of images of thousands of clusters. It's up to you. And so in another word, we can say Quay is actually built for real enterprise use cases where content governance and security are 2 major factors. I will show you in more details about the governance and the security part in the demo, but for now, you can just assume that it includes a built-in vulnerability scanning in Quay, and it's a very important part. So Quay is built to support a true DevSecOps environment, which means that it can help you to control how your content is flowing inside the environment and like getting out of the environment as well. So it can think of it as a kind of a place that is supporting during the build of your containers, during the deployment or shipping your containers, and for even the runtime, which means that if your containers are running, it can support that as well. Again, we are gonna dig deeper on that in the demo, but like to high level, to kind of touch it in a very high level, you can assume that it can manage a centralized, it can manage a centralized content ingress point for the content that you explicitly market as a trusted content. It will have a very strong fine-grained access control model, so you can see like who and where can use the content, and you're shifting left your security, which means that when you are after you're building your container or during the deployment time, any time that you want, kind of use your image registry. The scan or the security part actually happen during the registry time, deploying or putting into your container registry. All right, and we talked about the scalability of Quay. Quay is built to run on geographically distributed setup across multiple data centers or regions. So after the content you plan to use as a foundation for your applications, like you need to first mark them as whitelisted, and then you can mirror that in your environment. Both geo-replication and repository mirroring can be used to distribute the content even further. I mean, you can distribute it to all data centers and clusters running on-prem or public cloud in different regions across the globe. So you can assume, like, alternatively or side by side with geo-replication, this repository mirroring capability can be used to mirror the entire or specific subset of the content between multiple Quay deployments, which means that it allows you to have teams or region-specific registry configuration. For example, if you are in a country that needs a specific setup or has specific rules, then you're allowed, or you can do have a dedicated part of the organization use a specific setting Quay for that specific country or region. We mentioned that Quay can kind of is built on a cloud native architecture, and you can run it on any Kubernetes platform, right? But it's very deeply integrated on OpenShift, and I just want to highlight that if you're working with Quay on top of OpenShift, you're getting kind of more integration. I will show you how you can install the Quay on top of OpenShift in a demo, but we usually have an operator which called, in this case, it's called Red Hat Quay, which if you want to install Quay on any other Kubernetes platform, you will do the same thing. But on top of that, OpenShift has two other operators that you can install on top of your OpenShift platform. And these are the container security operator, and which actually goes through the scanning of images and make sure you're meeting the kind of security of the image container, and the Quay bridge operator, which is kind of making sure the integration between Red Hat Quay components are kind of going through smoothly. So there are different models of Red Hat Quay. We have the Red Hat Quay, which is an enterprise-grade container registry. It is self-managed, so you will install that and you manage it yourself. Or we have the Red Hat Quay.io, which is a hosted service, or you can consider that as a self-service access. You will go into the website, you register, sign up, and you will have access. You can set it up and access to that. We have another offering Actually, it's not an offering. I'm sorry. There is a project called Project Quay, which is the upstream project for Red Hat Quay, and that represent the code that powers Red Hat Quay and Quay.io. There are more than 150 contributors. They're helping with building this software, and there are so many support that we have from organizations from all sides of organizations, and we have a strong ecosystem partners helping us in kind of building a stronger ecosystem for any open source project actually, but specifically at this time we're talking about Quay. So to summarize that, Project Quay is upstream project, and there are two Red Hat offerings, which called one is Red Hat Quay, and the other one is Red Hat Quay.io. The first one is a self-service, self-managed offering, enterprise offering, and the second one, Quay.io, is the hosted service. All right, so I'm going to show you the demo right now, but before that, I just want to say if you just want to get your hands dirty and see what Quiz looks like, just feel free to go through the website that it's mentioned here, sign up for free, and just try Quay.io. It's very simple. All right, let's start a demo. So this is my OpenShift cluster that I already have. As I mentioned, like if you want to install the Quay or any other kind of integration that you want to do in OpenShift, it's so simple. You can just go through the operator hub and look for the operator which can plug in into your OpenShift cluster. And then from there, you can integrate that and work with that easily. So at this time, we are looking for Quay. I type Quay. These are all the operators available for Quay. I am not looking for the community version of Quay or Project Quay because I want an enterprise level, making sure that it's been supported by Red Hat, not an open source project right now. All right, so the three operators that I just talked about, the first one is Red Hat Quay, which is the Quay that we are just talking about. Right now, I already installed it to save time, but you will be able to see the install button, and it's just so simple. You just click on the install and it will install it for you. You can go through this documentation and understand that a little bit in more details if you want. So the other one that I want to install on my OpenShift cluster is called Container Security Operator. I will install that as well. It has Claire, which is a security tool, vulnerability security scanning tool, and it will go through the images and scan them and report back with the vulnerability status of your images. And the Quay Bridge Operator, which kind of makes sure the integration works perfectly. I already installed these three, so if I go through the installed operator, I should be able to see all of them. As you can see, they're all here and they're happy and green, which is good. All right, going back to the overview. So if you install those three Quay operators, just very simple, magically, you will see the image vulnerabilities of the Quay images that you're using in your OpenShift dashboard. So this is my OpenShift dashboard. It says that I have 78 vulnerable images. And these container images from Quay are analyzed to identify vulnerabilities. So these aren't all the images inside the Quay, but I can see them inside my OpenShift dashboard. It is very powerful because it gives them quick overview to your admins or operation team to understand what's going on. All right, so it shows that the namespaces and, like, for example, if they're fixable or not. But if you want to get more details, you will just click on this little icon and it'll take you to Quay.io. So Right now, actually, I have it signed in the background. Um, so it will take you to the Quay.io environment. I want to walk you through all of these items very quickly and show like what does each one of them means. This is the repository activity, for example, in general. There is a repository tag, which means that for each image that you have, for example, what's the, like, for example, this image for this tag has 58 high security vulnerabilities. But for the other, for the kind of 101 tag, it had like two critical ones. So it says like how many of them are fixable. Let's click on one of them and see what kind of report it shows us. It has an overview saying that how many of them are high, medium, low, or unknown. And for each one of them, it shows more details about what the vulnerability is, the description of that, um, the severity, and if it's already been fixed or not. And it also shows like in like which layer it's introduced to. Right now in this example, there most no comment, but for this specific one, this item, it shows in runtime, which means that this image, like when it's been run, like when you're running this image container, that would raise a risk, a vulnerability risk. All right, so that was important information about the CVEs that or vulnerabilities of the images you're storing in your image repositories. You can also take a look at the layers of the image that you already built. So as we know, all these images, the way you're creating images, you're adding layers on top of the other layer in your Docker file, and this kind of trying to understand the way that all the layers work on top of each other. It gives you the visibility, and this tab packages of the packages in your system, and yeah, it's like you can just go through that and understand like what each package is, if they have any vulnerabilities, or if they're fixed or not. In this situation, they're all fixed. All right, going back to our tags or like images, you can see that you can see all the history, the tag history, and the details of that. And if the like by clicking in here, you should be able to see more details of the layers, or like the more details of this image, this specific tag. There is a build section. If you remember in our presentation, I talked about that three phases of the that the Quay can help you with. One was build, run, build, deployment, and run. This is the build that I was talking about. So you can actually just start building your image here. I know the best practice is you're actually attaching your image repository to your pipeline. So when the pipeline kind of go through the build and make sure that all the tests are passing and the security stuff was passed, then you will push the image into your image registry. That would be the best practice. But in case you don't want to go through all of that and you just want to build your image and make sure the image is actually a right one, you can just come here and create a build. Oh, I don't have the access right now. I mean, but this would be as simple as just creating or integrating your GitHub, GitLab, or a custom Git repository push here. And you can start your new build. You can run the trigger. In general, it will go through the building process, and at the end, it will show you how the build looks like. All right, and yeah, and these are the logs as well. It shows that, for example, this happened, like someone pulled this image from this repository at what date, and at this time the token is anonymous. At this time, this is a robot we identified in the background. So in general, it's good, and the IP address is also marked, which is important. So if you want to just see logs and say like who is pulling your images, if there is any anonymous activities happening, you can just come here and go through the logs. And this is the RBAC section. Like you can define who you like, what kind of user has what information. All right, so that was the very quick overview of what we are doing with Quay. And to summarize that, if you are installing the Quay operators, you should be able to see the vulnerabilities in your OpenShift dashboard. And from here, if you click on these vulnerabilities, you should be able to see all these details of all of them in your Quay.io. And yeah, that would summarize all I wanted to talk about at Quay. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. And thank you.